Good afternoon. My name is Jordan Lake, and this is public update number 4 for the Communications Practicum for BYU Idaho. And I just have a couple of updates to share today. Now, the last update centered on the completion of the majority of the transcripts. It's funny, we've actually gotten two more, but we're working on that. Um, but now we have been writing and putting together the actual booklet itself. And we are coming along in that process, and I will show it today. But just as a brief overview, the booklet that we're making is the second booklet of the project of the Faces of Change, which is centered on being evidence of relevance for the Center for Hope as an organization itself. I will go more into more detail as to what evidence of relevance is today, seeing as I did research on it earlier within the last 2 weeks. But so far, the booklet is separated into 6 different sections, including an intro and a conclusion. Well, how about I just pull it up and we can talk all about it. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so regarding this booklet, we are shooting, we were previously hoping to keep it to 15 pages, but in order to incorporate everybody as well as proper research and design, it looks like the booklet is going to be between 20 to 25 pages. I think 25 is the absolute maximum that we would like this booklet to be, seeing as we think it might be difficult to hold attention for a lot longer than that. So, what we have so far here is the importance of evidence of relevance, which I've been researching lately. Evidence of relevance is crucial for a nonprofit organization as it directly underpins its legitimacy, funding opportunities, accountability, and long-term sustainability. Um, it is uh, it essentially directly connects the organization and its services to real, current, and significant problems in the community or the world. Some of the key reasons are securing funding and grants. There's a lot of changes within the granting programs for nonprofits like the Center for Hope. Um, of course, they also lean on donors, but this would also be a good opportunity for donors to read, understand more about the Center for Hope and make a contribution. You have accountability to stakeholders. There are current donors for the Center for Hope, and this evidence of relevance will provide evidence for the stakeholders to provide accountability. Building trust and public support, strategic decision making, policy influence and advocacy, and organizational survival. Now, the important parts or functions or how to build a good evidence of relevance includes storytelling, leveraging data and metrics effectively, defining and tailoring for your audience. Now, the audience for our booklet is um, uh, potential donors, current donors, as well as public officials within the Eastern Idaho area. The Center for Hope serves 9 counties in Eastern Idaho. You must maintain consistency and transparency and include a call to action. Now, the call to action is a part that I am hoping to receive more guidance from the Center for Hope itself. We currently have a softer call to action in the conclusion and introduction of the booklet. It is more centered on uh, like join the Center for Hope, participate in its activities, and donate if you feel compelled. Depending on how Nancy would like to go with who is the director of the Center for Hope, whatever she would like, we will do so. If she would like a much more specific donate here or do this or do that, then we will include that. But for right now, we have a softer invitation in the booklet itself. So now that we've established the need and importance of evidence of relevance, We will now, oh, this is a potential title, the Center for Hope's Faces of Change. I don't know if I love it. We're working on it. But now that we've discussed all that, we're going to be moving on to the booklet content itself. So the introduction, I believe, as of right now, has been fully completed. Oops, excuse me. Gotta love Grammarly. Perfect. There we go. Um, it centers on just introducing the Center for Hope and some of the problems facing Eastern Idaho. It talks about the men who are included in the Faces of Change and talking about the three elements of shared experiences that they have that the center takes advantage of or uses to provide a community and a culture that is beneficial for those in recovery. This is like the soft pitch for the Center for Hope and its programs. It mentions some of the individuals that will be included in the booklet and why their stories are relevant. And then we have the Center for Hope's thesis statement at the end. Now, the first section, and I did share some of this before, but there's been some changes. The first section, as of right now, is completed in its first draft. And we'll get into this later, but the introduction and this first section has been shared with the Center for Hope, and some feedback has been given. Overall, it was very positive feedback. But the idea is that it's section one. It introduces the problem. So for this one, the problem of addiction. So there's evidence from like the CDC that goes into, and we've been citing everything, of course. Those are going to be found at the bottom of these pages, and we'll include those in the booklet as well, of course. But we have the evidence and then evidence of the problem in the stories of the individuals, such as Cole here and Adam. And then it moves on to addiction in the faces of change, and it goes into more detail into some of the processes of recovery and how the stories of these men have demonstrated those principles. So, for example, the four areas of wellness from the Center for Hope are detailed in this section here. So, health, home, purpose, and community, and each dimension has a specific area or specific person's story. So here's home, and then you have purpose, community, and then a conclusion. So, and then finally, actually, I don't know why I haven't done that. Section 1B. There we go. So now the final section, or B, is specifically centered on the type of programs that the Center for Hope offers. And they often include quotes from recovery coaches or Nancy, the director herself, or just highlights conclusions that the men in recovery have shared. And so here's more the kind of environment needed for recovery from drug addiction, according to the National Institute of Health. Includes informational support, instrumental support, emotional support, and appraisal support. And Brandy C, her entire story is highlighted at the end of this one because it talks about her sliding back into addiction, but going to the Center for Hope specifically and finding support. So her whole story details it out. And then, of course, a conclusion. Now, this right here is really important. So at the end of every section, we haven't created this yet, but at the end of every section, a QR code is included that will take the individuals reading the booklet specifically to the whole stories shared by the individuals discussed in the section. Once again, we haven't made that yet, but that is a key element of the booklet. The whole stories are not shared in the booklet itself, but they will be included through those QR code or links. So then the second section, and I'm not going to go into quite as much detail. This one was actually recently added, like a couple days ago, because we found another really common pattern that fits a substantial problem within rural communities, which is the problem of broken homes in early childhood. And so we have some quotes here from individuals who earlier in their lives struggled with broken families and broken homes. And then this goes into more details of their recovery process. And one of them I really like is Woodrow. He his story is detailed here. However, it actually talks about how his family later leaned on him and his recovery, or they were key elements of his recovery, but also the kind of support that he was able to offer them. And then we will discuss how the Center for Hope overcomes. This is the section we worked on the least simply because it was a new idea that came up recently. So now section 3 is a major section that is coming close to being finished. So the need for education, and we go into a lot of evidence that talks and discusses about education in rural communities and those in the recovery community. We have some studies from the Ohio State University that talks about 3 elements that lead to institutions creating an environment where those in recovery can thrive, but also um, the 5 barriers that the recovery community faces in pursuing education. So just lots of stuff like this. I would like to include more of the stories in this section as of right now, so that's why it's mostly completed. But as of right now, it's firmly grounded in research. And then you just have the stories. This is where we get into it. Tommy and Brandon here. And then we have more evidence regarding the Center for Hope and how its peer-to-peer learning model provides a good community for these individuals. Then we have unemployment and other economic challenges. This is another major section that needs to be that needs to be written. Goes into more stories, and then we'll be concluded with the Center for Hope services and programs. And then we have section 5, the problem of aftercare. So this section focuses on how often people graduate from recovery programs and then there either aren't programs altogether that can continue to support them, or they aren't sufficient in providing the kind of support that they need. And so this section goes into data on that type of information, stories. This section highlights a story from Michelle, a recovery coach, how becoming a recovery coach with the Center for Hope provided the kind of support that would help her in her process of aftercare. And then, of course, it talks about the final section will be about how the centers the programs of the Center for Hope will offer the kind of support needed for aftercare success. And then finally, the future faces a change. It's just pretty much the final call to action. It wraps everything up. It talks about the previous sections and concludes them. It includes a couple of last concluding remarks from the men who are incarcerated, and just how they found success and what their lives are looking like now. We currently have Adam in here. There's a few others like Woodrow that I would like to include as well. But most of the conclusion has been written out, and the invitation is in this paragraph here. And then we'll have a section for acknowledgments and sources as well. And then this is just some information to remind me for later. But that is what the booklet is coming out to be right now. A lot, I would say about half of it is written. We need to focus it up. Another major focus that we've had in the last couple of weeks, and the reason why we're not quite as far in the writing process as I would have liked to be, is that we've actually presented a lot of this information to the folks at the Center for Hope, including the incarcerated individuals, and we've somewhat began formatting the booklet itself. So this is an old design from like a month ago. I'm not in love with it. I think I would like to change it. We'll see what the team thinks. But that will be the introduction. Now this page right here we will not include this in the booklet itself. I made this for the Center for Hope as we turn some of this information over to them, just so they can understand. It's pretty much just the same context that I gave at the beginning of this presentation on the importance of evidence of relevance. But here we have some of the actual design elements of the booklet. Like I mentioned before, we brought to the Center for Hope this printed out introduction and the first section, as well as the table of contents for the center. So as you can see, it's pretty basic right now. We'll add more color I designed most of this. I'm not much of a design guy. And I'm hoping to turn this over to some of the other group members to help, kind of make the booklet look better. But this is what we're looking at right now. And then section one, as you can see, there are the quotes here and the photos of the individuals themselves. That was taken like a month or two ago. And it just follows the text. So the final section, which is funny. I actually added it up here. Anyway, that's fine. And then here's Brandy's story. One thing that's really important for this booklet is I'm actually currently the text is at 14 font. I'm actually going to make it a lot smaller. That was just for readability for them there. But that will help us fit in the 20 to 25 page limit that we've set for ourselves. So moving forward, it's pretty much just full steam ahead. We are going to be concluding writing the booklet and then getting it designed. That will be completed in the next week. I guess as one update, I've been the person to work on the majority of this. I've been in charge of pretty much all of the writing. I've had a couple of people help pull quotes and do a little bit of research, but I've been the one to design this and write the majority of it out. I'm hoping that the team will get back involved a little bit to help me complete some of this. However, if not, I will get it done and it will be completed and ready to go within the next 2 weeks to be fully handed over to the Center for Hope and its programs. So thank you very much for following me today on in this discussion. And I hope you have a great day.